Buffalo Bills mandatory minicamp continued on Wednesday. What did we learn? We're breaking that down for you today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of Go Bills and Buffalo's Run, also the co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Well, folks, the Buffalo Bills mandatory minicamp continued on Wednesday, and I'm here to share the top takeaways and reports coming out of One Bills Drive. We'll talk about participation, some standouts from practice, including a guy that stood out in the wrong way. And we got some pretty interesting comments from Dawson Knox, Connor McGovern, and Rasul Douglas. So let's get into it. Let's start with participation. This update comes courtesy of Alex Brasky of the Batavia Daily News. And the one I know we're all interested in is Khalil Shakir, who got injured on Tuesday, left practice and did not return. He didn't practice on Wednesday, but he did do work off to the side. He had a sleeve on his left leg and didn't appear to be overly concerned based on the reports coming out. So it looks like Khalil Shakir is going to be okay. Nothing long-term, it would appear. Also not participating, Will Clapp. And the reason he was not participating was family reasons, which Dawson Knox revealed during his press conference. And then Christian Benford was not there, again, due to a family matter. Also not participating in practice, linebackers Edefwan Ulafosio, Nicholas Moreau, Balin Spector, and running backs Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, and Reggie Gilliam. All of those guys I just said missed Tuesday and Wednesday due to injury. Matt Milano was limited, in addition to Mike Edwards, Dorian Williams, and Spencer Brown. Now, Williams missed all of Tuesday's practice, but he participated in some individual drills. Same with Matt Milano in terms of participating in individual drills, doing team walkthroughs, but held out of team drills, which was also the same for Spencer Brown and Mike Edwards. So there's your participation update. I also wanted to make a comment here about Tommy Doyle, because Tommy Doyle was waived and then nobody claimed him. And after clearing waivers, he was back on the roster. So he failed the physical. He was waived. He cleared waivers. And because he clears waivers, he reverts back to the Bills' reserve PUP list, which is reserve physically unable to perform list, and does not count against the 90-man roster. So he obviously coming off back-to-back ACL tears. I know there's some concerns about whether or not he can play at all, but because he cleared waivers due to a failed physical, he is back on the Bills' reserve PUP list. So a little bit of an administrative note there as it relates to Tommy Doyle and his status on the team. All right, I want to get into some practice reports, and I want to start here. And this update comes courtesy of Dan Fates, and you saw this shared by a number of Bills beat reporters that were in attendance. This is what Dan posted on X. He said, Kaiir Elam continues to make plays. For the second straight day, Elam picked off Josh Allen, this time jumping a route against Keon Coleman. Sean McDermott and Bobby Babich were fired up. Feels like Kaiir Elam's had a really strong, not just last couple of days of minicamp, but off-season in general. And with Kaiir Elam not being present, with Rasul Douglas not being present for any of the voluntary sessions, and Christian Benford not being present at the mandatory session due to the family matter, it's put Kaiir Elam in an opportunity to get a lot of reps, right? He's been a starting corner throughout the entire offseason to this point. And those reps are extremely valuable for him, especially because kind of the concern with him was adjusting to zone coverage. And those reps, I know that this time of year reps can maybe matter less than other times of year. But when you're talking about getting the mental side down and the communication side down, is extremely valuable. And it's nice to hear that Kaiir Elam is taking full advantage of this opportunity. And I've said repeatedly on this podcast, and I'll say it again, the book is not written on Kaiir Elam. It is not written. He's entering his third season. Bobby Babich has called it a fresh start for him. Sean McDermott's had complimentary things to say about him this offseason. And just keep in mind that he's 23 years old. I know everyone is eager to define what a player is very quickly in their NFL career. But Elam is young. And let's not act like he hasn't had some really good moments. He's had an interception in each of the last two postseasons. He picked off Patrick Mahomes in the red zone to start that Chiefs game 2 years ago. He's had good moments. And for as excited as I am about about Rasul Douglas and Christian Benford as the Bills starting cornerback duo, I think it's a really good pair. I'm really excited for Kaiir Elam to be the CB3. And as you know, over the last several seasons, cornerback depth for the Bills has been stressed in a big way. Think of just how much Dane Jackson has played. Dane Jackson has never been a preferred starting player for the Buffalo Bills, yet over the last 3 years, he started 26 games. The Bills have had to rely on their CB3 quite a bit. And while I'm hopeful that Rasul Douglas and Christian Benford are healthy all season long, that's not been the case in recent history, not necessarily with those two players, but about the Bills starting corners. But it has been an issue for Christian Benford. I did an entire podcast on Christian Benford recently and said lots of great things about him. But the concern with Christian Benford has been injuries. In 2022, he fractured his hand. In week 3, that caused him to miss 2 games. He had an oblique injury in week 11. That cost him to miss the rest of the season. He missed 7 games as a rookie. In 2023, he missed week 5 against Jacksonville with a shoulder. He missed week 10 against Denver with a hamstring. And he missed the playoff game against Kansas City with a knee that he sustained like in the first quarter of the Steelers game. So he's missed 3 out of 4 playoff games in 2 seasons. And he's missed 12 of a possible 37 games so far in his career. That's 32.4%. I want Christian Benford to be healthy, available, and awesome for the Bills. But through 2 seasons, he's missed time. Kaiir Elam's probably going to have to play at some point this season. And while it's his 3rd year and he's not been able to really lock down that opportunity previously, the book is just not written. And his opportunity will come once again. And it feels like there's a lot of momentum for him to play his best football. This is a contract year for Rasul Douglas. There's a chance that next year, your week 1 starting corners are Christian Benford and Kaiir Elam. And if that goes well, Kaiir Elam could sign an extension with the Bills, right? There's so much more to play out. So while there's no question that Kaiir Elam has been the most discouraging Brandon Beane first-round pick to this point, it ain't over. It ain't over. And right now, he's got a big opportunity as a CB3. And he's had a big opportunity this offseason to gain a lot of reps and position himself to play well if his numbers called upon this season. All right, I want to get into more practice nuggets, including some James Cook stuff, some wide receiver stuff. Tyler Bass is not looking so good. We'll get into all of that here on the other side of it, so be sure to stick with me. Folks, the NFL schedule has been released. So many high-profile games for the Buffalo Bills. Sure, you're going to want to get to some of those. Well, if you do, you got to download the Game Time app. Game Time is the fast and easy way to purchase tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They have awesome deals going on with flash deals, zone deals. They give you last-minute tickets, all on an app that's super easy to navigate. You can also get a seat view so you know exactly what to expect when you get to the venue. But my favorite thing about purchasing tickets with Game Time is the all-in price. From the outset of the purchase, you know exactly what you're going to pay. It's not any big surprise processing fees coming at the end of the transaction. You know from the beginning. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, folks, let's get into some more practice updates from day 2 of Buffalo Bills Minicamp. These updates do come courtesy of Alex Brasky of the Batavia Daily News. The first one, KJ Hamler. This is what he posted on X. KJ Hamler with a 50-yard touchdown reception from Josh Allen. Allen fired it deep down the left sideline and dropped it in the bucket to Hamler. Big play for a wide receiver fighting for a roster spot. I'm very excited to see the wide receiver battles play out. And for a team that is looking for more explosive plays in the passing game, KJ Hamler's got the type of skill set that can do it. Former high second-round pick. He's only 24 years old. This isn't like an old player. Has had some very concerning injuries, but he's got speed. He's got the type of speed to get behind secondaries. He's got speed to win after the catch. And it's good to know that he's had an opportunity, at least in a first-team rep with Josh Allen at Bills Minicamp, to make a play down the field, and he delivered. The next one here, James Cook allowed a pass to bounce off his hands. High into the air near the start of team drills at Bills Wednesday mandatory minicamp. Cook encountered issues with drops last season and has done little to ramp down those concerns during off-season activities. I guess it's a concern until it isn't. And I continue to be surprised that James Cook and catching the football is part of what we're talking about, because that was absolutely kind of his thing coming out of college. I'm hoping that this is a non-issue, but based on the way last season ended and touchdown passes that he dropped down the stretch in this report, you kind of want to see this stuff go away. Now, I don't think that one practice report that he dropped the pass is an indicator that this is going to be a ongoing issue, but we want to see this trend differently. And so for James Cook to kind of be the multifaceted playmaker this offense wants him to be, especially in the passing game, got to catch a football. Keon Coleman with his most impressive play of offseason activities, going to snare a pass from Josh Allen, ripping it out of the air over Rasul Douglas on a back shoulder jump ball from Allen. Wasn't a perfect throw, but Coleman won the contested catch situation. So I think there's some fun things to glean from that. First of all, you want to hear Keon Coleman making plays, catching balls from Josh Allen, doing so over a great cornerback like Rasul Douglas. That's all very good. That's what you're hoping to see. Also, it's part of his calling card is going to be the size and physicality and making plays in contested situations. Now, I hope that he doesn't have to make a living making contested catches, but it's nice to know that he's been able to at least execute in this instance, which was obviously a first-team rep over a really good corner. But I think those types of throws, those back shoulder throws, and that's a big part of the chemistry, or developing the chemistry between a quarterback and a wide receiver. And Josh Allen has to kind of get a feel for Keon Coleman's game and where to slot those throws and how Coleman's going to adjust. And this is the time to kind of test that out and see. So it's nice to see that they were successful with this opportunity. Justin Shorter with a drop on a pass near the end of team drills at Wednesday practice. Has not been a good stretch for Shorter the past several offseason sessions held in front of media. second-year wide receivers fighting for a roster spot. I know Justin Shorter's got some fans. I'm not sure why. I think it's rooted in just being a big, muscular dude. His tape's never been good, and he's been a career underachiever. I thought he was really rigid in preseason. Like I said, I'm aware that he has fans. Just like seemingly there's always these Bills receivers, whether it's Duke Williams or Derrick Rogers or Brandon Riley, Marquez Stevenson. There's always these receivers that feels like fans kind of gravitate towards. I'd encourage you to get your expectations in a different spot if you're thinking that Justin Shorter is going to factor into this mix. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see how it plays out in camp and preseason, but my expectations for Justin Shorter remain very low. We'll spend some time on this next one from Alex Brasky. He said, an ugly session for Tyler Bass at Bills Wednesday minicamp as he missed his first 3 kicks from 45, 35, and 35. He missed those 3 kicks, 45, 35, 35. Then made from 50, missed from 45, and made from 50. Later on, he went 1 for 2 on kicks from 50. That's too many misses, folks. That's too many misses. From 35 twice and 45, and then, of course, missing a couple of times from 50. This is not what I want to hear. In a practice setting, I followed up with Alex, and he confirmed that Sam Martin was the holder for these kicks. Which is interesting because the last time we got a field goal kicking update from Tyler Bass during an offseason practice, he went 7 for 7 with Jack Browning as the holder, the UDFA punter out of San Diego State. And so the Bills got to assess this operation and try to figure out what the heck's going on. The Bills need Tyler Bass to be a reliable kicker. And he wasn't last year. He started off great. He was 10 for 10 on field goals, 18 on extra points through the first 6 games of the season, and then the wheels fell off. He missed 2 in the dramatic 14-9 win over the Giants. He missed in the loss to New England. 2 misses in the overtime loss to Philly. 2 for 5 in the postseason. Was 76.5% for his career. That's the lowest of his career. He had the first miss of his career inside 30 yards. 5 of 9 from 40 to 49. So 56% last season from 40 to 49 for his career prior. He was 82%. This is a $5 million a year kicker. He's the 7th highest paid kicker in the NFL. He's in the top 25% in terms of kicker salaries. Got to be better. Got to be better. And if holding's part of the problem here, figure it out. This is the National Football League. Get a guy that can hold. Really was hoping that last year could be put behind us and Tyler Bass can be a reliable kicker, but not a whole lot going on here that's restoring my confidence in him. Again, we'll put it where it is. I mean, this is a June minicamp practice, but we're talking about misses from 2 from 45, 2 from 35. I mean, thing about field goal kicking, it's not like I don't have to sit here and tell you, well, the pads aren't on. You know, the pads aren't on. You don't know. It's field goal kicking, man. It goes through the pipes or it don't. These are the margins. This is the X factor type stuff that needs to be settled, especially when you're paying a kicker. So you're on notice, Tyler Bass. Hopefully he can get it figured out. All right, folks, on the other side of it, we heard from Dawson Knox, Connor McGovern, Rasul Douglas. We'll dive into all of that here in just a moment, so be sure to stick with me. All right, folks, there was a joint media session with Dawson Knox and Connor McGovern. I'll tell you what I found to be the most interesting stuff. We'll start with Dawson Knox. And Dawson Knox was asked some questions about the offense and Joe Brady and how much is new. And this is what he said. There's a lot of similar stuff with new wrinkles in terms of personnel and formations. There's some new concepts, different alerts at the line. There's a good bit of learning, but overall, some similar stuff. He said the offensive players feel comfortable going into Joe Brady's office and saying, we like this and we don't like that. But as Joe Brady has said, this is a Josh Allen offense, not a Joe Brady offense. Josh is always in his office. There are times in practice where Josh Allen is calling plays. I mean, that's what you want to hear, right? I think it's important for the players to have a lot of input. Talked about this before, but when the players have input on what's being called, they are going to do everything that they can to make sure that the things that they influence work. You're going to go up to Joe Brady and say, hey, I really like this concept. Let's work it in. You're going to do everything that you can to make sure that that works out. You've heard play callers talk about this, that part of what they do is they ask their quarterback, their star players, like, what do you want to run? And then when they call that, you know that they're going to do everything they can to make it work. And I love to hear that that line of communication remains very much open for the players and Joe Brady, but especially for Josh Allen. I know that these guys have been together for a number of years, and that's very, very helpful. But that communication, making sure that what they're running, what they're calling fits what Josh Allen wants to do is really important. And calling it a Josh Allen offense, that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. On the Dalton Kincaid pairing, of course, with Dawson Knox, Dawson said this, the more 12 that we run, which 12 personnel, 1 back, 2 tight ends, the more the defense has to respect the run and the pass. He said Dalton and himself can make linebackers pay in coverage, and they can make nickels pay against the run. That's the benefit of 12 personnel. If you can run and pass out of 12 personnel, you can force the defense to be wrong no matter what. They're either going to be too small or not athletic enough. I'm hopeful to see this really take off this season. I thought we got some glimpses of it last year. I think with it being Dalton Kincaid's rookie season combined with Dawson Knox having the wrist deal that forced him to miss a bunch of time, didn't quite get a chance to see it all play out in addition to a coordinator switch midseason. I'm excited to see that back on track. On Dalton Kincaid entering his second season, this is what Dawson Knox said. Dalton's confidence is the biggest difference year over year. He knows what he's doing. He's building chemistry with Josh Allen. His head was spinning at this point last year. He's leaps and bounds ahead. You get a talented guy where things are coming natural to him. It's a good combination. I know that it's not a hot take or anything, but I think Dalton Kincaid's going to be a superstar. And this messaging certainly affirms my belief in that. Connor McGovern on the transition to playing center. He was very direct on this. He said, center is my natural position. It's going back home. He said he got drafted as a center, but the new coaching staff moved him to guard. He's very happy to be back to center permanently. Those are his words. He said, I missed playing it a lot. Last year, I helped Mitch Morris a lot with the calls, but this year, it's my show. If there's any doubt, folks, about Connor McGovern, his appetite to play center, whether he's comfortable, I don't think he could have been more direct. It's my natural position. I'm going back home. I'm very happy to be back permanently. I missed playing it a lot. This is my show. I got a feeling he's real happy about this. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what happens at left guard. There's a part of me that's thinking it's David Edwards' job to lose, but I don't think that I'm going to dismiss Cedric Van Pran-Granger in that competition. I think he can make some noise there. Lastly, let's get to Rasul Douglas. And Rasul was asked about not participating during voluntary OTAs, and I know that was something that a lot of people were questioning. Rasul said it's always what he does. He always skips voluntary OTAs. He said that he needs a mental reset, spend some time with family, and that he gets back at it with the mandatory minicamp. Then he takes the month off. And then when he gets to camp, he says, I'm here until I'm not here. And he said he was transparent with the team during exit meetings that's his off-season regimen. Said he likes to spend a lot of time with his son and that he's a big roller skater. So there you go. That's what he's doing in the offseason. It was also interesting to hear him comment on joining the team midway through the season and the difference between that and where he's at right now. And I thought he framed it very interestingly. He said he's actually getting a chance to learn the scheme and not just the game plan. Right? Think about that. He misses all the install. He doesn't really know the structure of the defense. He just learns, what are we doing this week for this opponent? And he even said last year, on every play, I just did whatever Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer told me to do. That's what he said. He's like, you guard that guy, and that's what he did. So it's kind of crazy to think that he was able to make the impact that he did without really knowing what the heck he was doing. And he should be well equipped this year to play even better. And I mean, the Bills run this zone match defense, which is not easy to just come in and do. So for him to have that success speaks a lot about Rasul Douglas. Rasul was asked about it being a contract year, and he certainly acted like he didn't know that it was a contract year. I'm sure he did, but he certainly didn't make it like it was something that was big on his mind. He says, hopefully they think I'm worth something and they put a little green in my pocket. He said, I don't pay attention to it. So I know that you hear some players talk about getting that taken care of and it being an important part of them just being able to focus on football. Doesn't sound like Rasul Douglas is too interested in that taking away from his preparations for the season. He spoke highly on his relationship with Christian Benford, which is cool. Obviously, that's a outside corner duo. You want those guys to be tight, but he really kind of went in on this a little bit, talking about how they communicate just about every day. They're tight off the field. He said he really likes the way that Christian Benford works and plays. He said he's a good communicator. I think they have some similar age children, and they have a lot of chemistry, which is cool. On Kaiir Elam, Rasul Douglas said that he looks good out there. He's sticky, big, fast. He's in a good spot, and he looks great. So pretty excited about the top three corners that this team has. I don't know about the fourth guy. Jamarcus Ingram right now is pretty much handed that job. I know Daquan Hardy's here, but I think that he will be the backup in the slot to Taron Johnson. But I think the Bills, well, maybe Jamarcus Ingram's going to be just fine, right? I don't know. We'll see. But with his only real competition being Kyron Brown, it's something that at least raise an eyebrow towards. But that top three, Benford, Douglas, Elam, good mix of young upside, proven young player and Benford, and then, of course, outstanding savvy veteran in Rasul Douglas. This is probably as healthy as we've seen. I don't mean just like physically healthy, but in terms of quality that we've seen from the Bills at corner entering a season. Because of Trey White and kind of the mystery of his status. And then Dane Jackson's a fine football player, but you kind of feel like you know who Christian Benford is. You feel really good about Rasul Douglas as a top guy. I'm pretty excited about this corner situation. Also, one more thing about Rasul Douglas. He was asked about the safeties not being gone, Poyer and Hyde. And Rasul was like, is Micah gone? Like, is he gone for sure? So just another little thing here that leads you to believe that maybe Micah Hyde's going to be part of it. And we'll see, right? We'll see how that all goes, but I'm kind of interested. I mean, Mike Edwards with the shoulder deal, I obviously it's still early, but I want him to be available. I don't know what to expect from Cole Bishop. It sounds like things have been really quiet there, right? Even he met with the media and just kind of talked about, I'm just learning. Doesn't feel like there's a lot of confidence for what he's going to be able to do in year one. He's 21. He's young. Obviously, I think he's a big part of the future, but maybe Micah Hyde and Taylor Rapp's exactly what this team needs at safety. I like Mike Edwards. We'll see. I'm spitballing here. But the further this gets into it, without Micah Hyde saying I'm done, feels like the more likely it is that he returns. And I don't think that Micah Hyde was super interested in doing all this stuff, right? If he gets back, it's probably going to be during camp, maybe not even before camp, but at some point during camp. It's like, all right, here you go. Come on in. Probably shouldn't take much for him to ramp up, but obviously that's a very personal decision based on his family dynamics. And of course, more importantly, his health and the neck injury and how good he feels about being able to play and it not being a limiting factor and not being something that is going to cause further complications down the road. But certainly feels more and more like that chapter is not closed. All right, folks, there you have it. Day 2, Bills minicamp in the books. Maybe we'll get day 3. We'll see. Sean McDermott typically cancels that. But maybe some of the newness of this team will lead to a different result. So we'll stay tuned. If there is practice, then we will cover it. If not, I've got plenty of other things up my sleeve. So don't miss it. Make sure you're subscribed. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills! And I look forward to catching up with you again real soon.